Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim Matthews. Tim, how you doing, brother?
Very well. In fact, I'm tired. I'm not going to lie. Kind of the same as last week. I think I said the same last week on one of the episodes, but it's all good. Seasons of life, all that kind of stuff. We're growing quickly, helping more men. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. It really is. And but when this comes out, we will have just left the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States, and we're going to become closer to the Christmas holiday. And this is traditionally a very troubled time for a lot of guys in their relationships. A lot of times things come up, right? The holiday season is one of those times when relationships can really get tested, and guys, you know, basically their ability to stand into their power and be the lighthouse gets tested quite often. And we all know what happens in January. And if you're not aware, if you haven't listened to this podcast for a while, or you're not aware of it, there's a date in January. I think it's the 7th, Tim. Is that right?
It's the first Monday back after the holidays. Let's see what day it is this year.
So what Tim and I are talking about is family lawyers or divorce lawyers, solicitors. They call this particular day Divorce Day because that's when most divorces, the greatest number of divorces are filed. And we all know that 75% of divorces are filed by women, which makes it very interesting. Some of
the women on the team have been through divorce too. And I didn't ask them whether that's what they did, but when I shared with them Divorce Day and the first Monday back and all that stuff, they were like, yep, I get it. This year, next year, 2022, it's Monday, the 3rd of January, but it's still a bit fresh. It might even be Monday, the 10th of January, but either way, yeah. It's awful, isn't it? So to think, so many guys at this time of year going into Thanksgiving in the US, going into the holiday season around the world, typically. A lot of guys end up feeling like a stranger in their own home, don't they? Escaping, running off to the toilet to go on the phone for 30 minutes because they don't know how to interact, or they're not included in the interactions, right? Family around, people around, and they're just kind of withdrawing because they don't know what to do. And for a lot of women, the reason why, just to give a bit of backstory and context to Divorce Day, often the reason for the women is because in their mind, they're usually waiting until the holiday season to give it one last shot, right? Surely he can show up and be present and be playful and disconnect from work for us over Thanksgiving or over the holiday season, right? And for some guys, when they don't know how to, and we'll go on to this in a minute, how to disconnect from the mood of their wife, then they can often be triggered when maybe they become tested, right? When they've got more time at home. And instead of being at the office where they get the respect and the admiration and the significance, they're at home where they kind of get, or they feel like they get ignored, undermined. And like I said, they withdraw. And then obviously when the holiday season finishes and it's just been another year of the same thing and they've got it out of the way, oftentimes it's at that point where the woman is like, well, do you know what? I tried. I give it all I could. If he can't change and be there for us over the holiday season, then when is he? What will it take? When is he going to be there, right? He's never going to be there. It's been another year of this. I think as well, the whole thing around new year, new beginnings, fresh starts, I think the women leverage that as well. But anyway, if any of this is resonating, I think this episode's going to really help.
Yeah, well, I'm going to just add on what I've heard a lot of women say that initiate the divorce in January. This is before I even knew Divorce Day was a thing. Oftentimes they just want to keep it together for the kids. Let's make the holidays, a good place, despite dad being checked out or getting drunk or whatever it is that dad's doing in the fights and the arguments. Because before the pandemic, if you remember, there weren't other times when people were together as much. And the holidays were that time when all of a sudden people came together. Now entrepreneurs and business people aren't going to the office, like you said, It becomes a busy time for us at the Powerful Man because those are the men we work with, and they have a lot more free time on their hands, or seemingly free time. And that's when, the men that haven't done a lot of work on themselves, which is most of us, right? Quite transparently, because we're not taught to, that's when the demons start to, raise their ugly heads, so to speak, and problems start to exist. And unless they're getting taken care of, and unless you're being proactive about it, your wife, when your wife files for divorce, typically she's made up her mind and she's already has a plan in effect of where she's going to be landing after that, right? Very rarely do women do it, initiate a divorce happenstance without a clear plan on where they'll be living, how they'll be making money, and who they'll be with. And that's where unfortunately, we have some guys that come a little too late and they end up with that consequence of another man raising their child, which is, never something that's fun to have that conversation about.
No, not at all.
But Tim, I want to switch gears here as we come in, and we have, for men that aren't in the movement that we call the Powerful Man. I mean, when I say in that, you haven't gone through an activation method. We do have a private membership site off of Facebook that we use for guys, all kinds of groups that are going on there, depending on the programs and the topics and conversation. And I posted something in that private channel, similar to what you've posted in the public Facebook group, but just asking guys, hey, what do you want to hear on the podcast? And one guy named Mike reached out. We got a lot of responses, but here's one. Mike had a question about, Tim, I thought we could address on this podcast, is how do you detach your happiness from hers so you can end codependency?
Great question. I think the first step with this is realizing that it's going on, right? Realizing that your happiness is attached to hers. And it's kind of like, well, how do you realize that? It's interesting because we had a meeting with the team today and they were talking about one of the guys that was thinking about joining the program and shared how his wife was the dominant one in the relationship. She was making the decisions. She ran the business. And she then left the house while I was having a conversation with one of the advisors. He didn't know where she was going or when she'd be back or if she'd be back, right? And he freaked out, completely freaked out. And it became a bit, from what I've been told, it became very insecure and needy. And he was very much responding to her reaction, right? But what oftentimes I think it's easy to forget or not consider is, what if she's responding to your mood, right? What if in this instance, what if she is walking out because she's feeling the insecurity from you, and as a result, she then feels insecure. You then start to chase her and become needy. She then wants to run away because it's just, it's just it repels a woman, right? It doesn't fill them with the feeling that they're with a man. So I think in order to spot whether or not your happiness is dependent on the other person, you've got to look at the dynamic, right? Okay, when she's up, am I up? When she's down, am I down? Or vice versa. Am I responsive and reactive to her mood, right? If you are, then I think something you get to consider, like I said a moment ago, is what if she is responding to your mood? Because the reality is, and I'll speak about myself, I know oftentimes that Amelia, if I walk into the room and let's say Amelia's annoyed or frustrated, and I stand and I listen to her, and then I just start to be playful with her, I can change her state. She'll shift. And it's almost like she just forgets what she was annoyed about, right? I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but it can be that easy to shift the emotional state of the woman that you're with, right? So as men, we have that kind of influence. And for women, they want to be reminded that influence is there. That's the container that you get to create as a man, within which when she feels that, she can be herself and feminine, and it creates polarity and attraction, all that fun stuff. So in terms of how you actually detach it, I'm going to let Doug talk a little bit more to that. But I think the first piece is recognizing whether you're in it, and if you are in it, why. Usually it's down to a few things, which Doug will probably touch on. But just recognizing that it's there and that you actually have the ability to change it and direct it. And not only that, she wants you to.
Yep, 100%. And to Mike's point, I've been in this situation where for my wife, I tried so hard to make her happy, right? And I got my worth as a man was like, we talk about in business, OKRs or KPIs, or like, what are you doing a good job? My worth as a man in my relationship was how happy my wife was early on. And that created so many problems. And we became codependent, or I became codependent on that. And it came from a good place of wanting to fulfill her, wanting to help her, but also I would feel significant or as a failure if my wife wasn't happy. And so I think that's an important thing for a lot of guys to check in with themselves, because that's not, I can tell you based on my experience, and I'm assuming this guy Mike's, that it's not a good place to be in. And what that resulted in me, for what happened to me, Tim, is when I felt that I got my significance for making my wife happy, I became dependent or codependent on her, my mood would shift. And to your point, I was no longer leading. And I was trying to always go around and save her. And by saving her, my cup, so to speak, we talk about the metaphorical cup that's within you. And what I mean by that, guys, is my self-love, my self-worth, my ability to make myself happy, the feeling you have inside where you just feel full and present and, joy, really. My cup was empty. And then my wife would look across, and you could see her looking at you, right? With those eyes. When all of us guys have been there, she looks at you and you're just empty, right? You can't provide anything. You're hollow as a man. And that perpetuates it, because now guess what? She's not happy. Now she has to be the alpha in the situation, and you become the beta. And that's where I found myself in, right? Alpha everywhere else in my life, except for the one place that mattered the most, right at home. And it was because of this codependence, this issue that I was having, which sounds like Mike is too. So Tim's right. First step is realizing you're there. Second step is realizing that you are not responsible for anybody else's happiness but your own. And when you can really learn that and truly embody that, guys, that's when you get the power back. Doesn't mean you don't want people to be happy. You're not a jerk. It's just you can't be responsible for anybody else's happiness. You can still want people to be happy. You can still desire them to be happy. That's natural and that's a good thing. But you're not responsible. So that's the first step to ending the codependency. The second step is filling yourself up first, filling your cup up first. Tim, you and I were talking about this before we hit record. As men, and especially as businessmen and leaders, it's very easy for us to fall into the habit of just getting shit done, knocking stuff out. And then, as fathers as well and husbands, it's easy for us to put ourselves last. I'll take care of my wife's needs because she's complaining about taking care of the kids. I'll take care of the kids because they have to go to soccer practice, swim lessons, And at the end of the day, it's, 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, and you're pouring yourself a second glass of whiskey or whatever else, a bourbon, whatever else it is. And you're realizing that is your downtime in front of the TV. That's it. So you're not filling your cup up. You're just putting a Band-Aid on the issue. And that forces you to be in this perpetual cycle of depending on your wife to make you happy. Right? Is your wife picking all the fun things that you guys do as a family? Is your wife coordinating your holidays, right? It's the holiday season. Is your wife picking all the Christmas gifts or the Hanukkah gifts or whatever else you're celebrating? Is she picking all those things? Is she picking the venues? Is she picking the places that you guys go for fun? And if she is, then you've put her in the driver's seat and you've made her the person in charge of happiness in your life. The other way around. Now you've given up your power for happiness to her. And so the first thing to do, obviously, as you said, Tim, be aware. Second thing, realize you cannot make anybody else happy. You're not in charge of their happiness. And the way you do that is you become in charge of your own happiness. And there's a couple things you can do here, which we'll talk about towards the end of the podcast here. But I want to elaborate a little bit more, Tim, and I'd love you to jump into it because you're awesome at it with helping the guys. Is where do the guys start off with filling their cup? Most guys don't know how to, in my experience.
Yeah. Wow. Well, they don't. I know I've been there at times.
Yeah.
You just kind of can lose touch very easily, right? I think as guys, especially businessmen, it's very easy to put everybody else's needs first. So where do you start with filling your cup? So obviously, one of the ways that we encourage, well, one of the things we encourage the men to do is the Alpha Rise and Shine. It's a great way. But beside that, here's a question you could consider, right? So take out a piece of paper. It's like a journaling exercise. Right across the top, wouldn't it be cool if ... And then just let it flow. Whatever comes out. Wouldn't it be cool if I could work 4 days a week? Wouldn't it be cool if I hired a trainer? Wouldn't it be cool if whatever, right? Don't question what's coming up. Just let it all flow, get it all down, and see what's there. You'd be surprised. And when there's enough on there and you feel like you've got it all out, take action on some of it. Treat yourself, right? Which of those excites you and kind of scares you the most? Now, this is a bit of a bigger first step than the Alpha Rise and Shine, to be honest. The Alpha Rise and Shine is around your morning routine. Some guys choose to get that in place by getting up a little bit earlier. It's, a block in the morning where they're able to really connect with themselves, have time to be, right? Slow things down. The A stands for attune. So they'll wake up, they'll attune their energy, whether it's through just having some water or sunlight or getting out there and having a walk in fresh air. The L stands for learn. So I'll learn something, whether it's plugging into the activation method or a podcast like this. The P stands for plan. So plan your day. So they'll have a look at how the day's working out and is it aligned to where they want to go, and they'll just check in with it a little bit, right? H is honor your body. So they'll either, like I said, they go for a walk or they'll work out, right? A lot of guys, as part of their Alpha Rise and Shine, will then hit the gym after they've woke up, drink some water, sat in front of the fire, maybe, depending on the time of year, journaled a little bit, listen to a podcast. At that point, they're ready for the gym. They'll then hit the gym and they'll be back before their family wakes up, right? At which point, the final A is an accelerate. They'll accelerate into the day, whether it's with a cold shower after the gym. Typically, it's a cold shower after the gym, and then they'll leave the gym feeling fresh, feeling good. And that can often be enough to just start filling their cups. It's very easy once you're full to allow the overflow to spill into everybody else's. Now, assuming you're doing that and you become a little bit used to it and you want to fill your cup that little bit more, maybe add in that question, like I said, wouldn't it be cool if ... Or if I had it all my way, it would look like ... And then just write down what it'd look like if you had it all your way. Maybe you would hire a nanny or hire a housekeeper, or maybe you'd have someone cook meals for you, or maybe it's they'd just cook dinner once a week and you put those meals in the freezer. Whatever it is, right? Tune into what your desires are, get it all down, don't judge it, and then take action on those items that are exciting and scary, because that's where the juice is. And when you're living in that zone in that way, you feel alive. And by default, you're listening to yourself, which makes you feel good, shows to yourself that you're important, that you matter to yourself, which builds the confidence, fills your cup. And, by default, it's very easy to then not get sucked in to your wife's moods, essentially. And instead, stand firm, be the lighthouse, and lead.
Yeah, it's great advice. I mean, I remember, a time when, I had a free day to do whatever I wanted to do. And I remember this specifically. It's like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't remember how to, because I found fun through sports, right? Almost my entire childhood and adult life, mostly into my late 30s. And then when the sports was kind of quote taken away, like I wasn't involved in a league or anything, then I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do with myself. And I think that's what a lot of men fall into is what do you do? What do you do for fun now? In my 40s, going out and playing, pick up basketball in the city, it's probably not going to be the best result for me if I haven't played in a while, and things of this nature. So what do you do? And I think a lot of us guys fall in that way. And when we find that yourself in that state, guys, that's how one way you can know your cup is empty. And mine was. And what I resorted to, Tim, was business. I would just start another business. Cool. I'd learn a new skill around business. Hey, I got an idea. I'm going to learn how to program a website or whatever it is, something I didn't need to do, but I had an interest in it. And so it was, easy to justify. But again, you're emptying your cup. And so you become codependent in this state of your wife filling your cup, right? Now you're codependent in a different way. Now she's got someone else to take care of and make sure it's fun. And when I think about that, I think about like things that you like to do, Tim, aren't always things that I would enjoy as much, right? Things that you do to fill your cup aren't mine per se, and vice versa. But we as men, the way you find out what fills your cup is try new things. If you don't know, just try something. If you say, hey, I just don't know what to do, cool, do something. Go to the spa, try that out. Maybe it's your thing. Maybe that's a way to rejuvenate. A lot of guys find out it is. Or maybe you're like me and it's not your thing at all. And you try something else, right? Maybe it's going to the gym and trying a new workout or joining a class or trying yoga or doing something that pushes you physically. Maybe that fills your cup. Try mountain biking. If it sucks, you don't do it again. But you're trying new things until you find it. It's kind of like finding your passion. It doesn't just happen to you. You find your passion on the way of searching. And it's the same thing with filling your cup. You got to figure out what it is. You don't have an ideas, ask some buddies, log on to social media. People are posting their quote, fill your cup stuff all the time. And you'll find it, guys, that's in there. But from Mike's point on how do you detach your happiness from hers is the first and foremost, realize that you are solely responsible for yourself. If you are perfect in every way, then you can start taking care of other people. But guess what? No one is. So it starts with taking care of yourself first. You have to lead from the front and lead by example. And we have thousands of cases of men who've done this process, going through the activation method, start taking care of themselves. That bleeds over. Their cup gets full. Now your cup is spilling into everybody else around you. Right. And as Tim said earlier on here, when he steps in with his partner, Amelia, when he's in the room and he's leading from his energy, she follows. It's like a dance. If you're not leading in the dance, the woman has to lead, or you guys aren't really dancing together.
I think an important point as well is when you do this and you see the effect on you, you can clearly see when your wife isn't filling her cup.
Yep.
At which point it becomes a lot easier for you to step in and take charge and kind of say, look, enough. You're wearing yourself out. I'm going to take the kids. I've booked you to go get your nails done. You're going to be leaving in a few hours, whatever scenario you want to paint. The point I'm making is you can then take the leadership position to encourage her to go and fill her cup and then encourage her to continue doing the same, right? You've got to be the one that breaks the cycle and lives by example. Then typically she's going to be the one that will trust it and be open to the change as well.
It's a really good point. And I was talking to one of the guys in our Inner Circle program. So our Inner Circle is one of our more advanced one-year mastermind programs for guys pay over $50,000 a year to be in. And we go through a lot of coaching. And he was having this problem. I didn't think about it till now, Tim. And what I was telling him was basically his partner was just overwhelmed and it wasn't filling her cup. But at the same time, she believed that she needed to do these things to be a woman, a wife, a mother, right around the house. So house cleaning, can't get a maid, can't get a nanny. I'll take care of the kids. And the thought process for a lot of women is, if I need that help, then I'm a failure, right? So what I did, I was in the situation with my wife, and I was telling him this is I went as far as I wrote we have Craigslist. I wrote the Craigslist ad for our, house manager that we hired. I filtered the applications before I gave them my wife. My wife was theoretically on board, but nothing was happening. So I took the leadership role, to your point, Tim, and I posted the ad. I started filtering through what we were looking for was a house manager, which is like a cleaner, someone to do all those things around our house. And sometimes you have to do that. And when I did that, it freed up days in the week for my wife to go do things that she loved. And she'd come back rejuvenated and talking to me like, oh my God, I went, we have 2 little ones under 5. Oh my God, I had coffee by myself and was able to read a book and just little things, right? And that translated to seeing her happy. I'm not codependently making her happy, but what I'm doing is taking the leadership role of making that present for her, right? And that's the difference. And this gentleman's going to do the same thing for his wife. And it's at a place of caring, but you're leading with your energy, right? And your energy enters the room before you do.
Yeah,
so it's really,
for sure. It's a great question.
It is a great question, Mike. And thanks to the guys that are raising these questions, just an amazing men as they're going through their process, through the activation method. And it's just such an honor to be able to share this with them. So gentlemen, your call to action is make your list. What is it that's filling your cup? And if you don't have a thorough list that of things that fill your cup that you are doing regularly, so at least weekly, if not daily, then it's time to change. Try new things, reach out. I'd love to hear from you guys, whether it be in the private membership group or in Facebook. Let me know what it is you do to fill your cup. Let's make a list here, guys. Let's create a thread. Let's make a list and let's just share. Maybe I'll take a couple of your ideas and try them out myself and vice versa. We have a great hot mind of guys, tens of thousands of you guys listen to this podcast. And so let's create this whole list of amazing things men can do to fill our cup so we can end that codependency. Gentlemen, as always, in the moment of insight, take some action, and we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.